Hi everyone. Well, it's raining outside, so today I thought I'd go through how I make my little flip notebooks. This one's going in my sewing journal. So please join me today and we'll make one together. I've got another background piece from our Etsy shop, but I mean, you can use anything. You can use a picture from a book, a magazine, just plain card, and then decorate it. So I'm going to cut a piece off this. This has got a sort of like a wallpaper decoration on it, but and I want it about the same size. So I'm doing a real accurate measurement here, so I think that's about it. Yep, about that. And that we can use for other things. So I want to back this because as you see when you open up, I've got tags in here. I put a nice backing on this one from the book with all the needlework in. So I'm probably going to use a similar piece of paper. Let's see what we've got here. Now my paper isn't quite long enough, but as you see, a lot of it's underneath, or it's going to be folded up for a pocket, so I can make a join where the pocket's going to be. So I could have that much for the bit that shows, and then this bit will be inside the pocket, so I'll just add a little bit to that. So I'll stick this piece on, cut a piece off there, and then we'll trim it around. I'm going to stitch around the edge as well, so this doesn't have to be heavily glued really, just to keep it in place. I want the bit with the writing on and the picture, so about there. I'll just roughly cut this off a minute. And then I'll stick a piece on here. As I say, this is going to be folded up. So, and I'll put it underneath that bit. But obviously if you use a piece of paper from a magazine, you'll have both sides anyway. So I've pasted that bit under there because that's going to be folded up. So I'm just going to cut round here now and ink up the edges, and then I'll come back show you the next stage. Okay, well I've inked up the edges and cut it neatly. So now I've got to fold up the little pocket inside, and if you've got a pattern, just consider how you want the flap to look. So this, I'm going to choose this top bit here. So this is going to be the little pocket. So just sort of, haven't measured it, just hoping it'll be okay. So that's where the pocket's going, and then about there. They don't have to be exactly the same, but I want to be able to put a button on there. So about there. You can always cut a bit off if you want to. So I won't make a full crease there yet. But I want to put the button on here before I do any stitching. So it's choosing the button. And you can either choose, I quite like that one, but it's got 2 holes. I don't really want, I could sew it on, but I won't today. You could choose something to complement, and I quite like that one. It looks like it's from a collage, but it looks like a little picture of Venice or somewhere. Or I could use the same pattern, which I've done on there. So that's the difficulty. Okay, well, when you've decided, I do like to measure this, although you can't eyeball it. So that's about 5. And I just make a little pencil mark where the halfway mark is. And then make sure when your flap's down that you've got plenty of room. So I'll put a little mark where the top will go. Okay, so we've got the button to do, but firstly I'm going to round the edges. I quite like the look of the rounded edge, but again you can leave it. And then I'll just have to ink around that bit again. I think it gives a finished look. And I'll just ink around that bit. And I'm going to ink around the button. I think I'm going to go with the same design. Okay, well I think having camera issues, I've just put the hole through the button and the bottom of the pocket. I'm going to put a brad through. And I'll put a little bit of tape on there because it's a pocket that might catch on something. I think the button with the inked surround with the same pattern looks quite nice there. But you can make lots of these so they can all have different buttons and images. So I'm going to put a pocket on the back before I stitch around, so I'll include that in the stitching. So I'm just going to have it halfway up. So I'll cut this piece down and across there, and I'll come back and show you how I'm going to stitch it. So I measured this with a pencil on the other side. So I've got the white card, so that was easy, and I just cut it to where I wanted it, and I'm just going to put a half moon, so that's middle's about there. So I think that gives it a nice edge. And then ink up. So I'll ink all around there, and then I'll take it off to the sewing machine. So how I'm going to do that is I stitch on this side. So I'll stitch up here straight, then straight across, stitch down here at the same time as I'll put a little bit of glue on the edge here so it stays in place, so I can stitch that in as I'm going. Alright. Before I do that, I'm going to do a little bit more inking on the seams, just to give it that vintage look. A little tip that I do while I'm sewing something on, if I can, I put a little bit of tape. You can glue it, because that's not going to interfere with the pocket. And then that keeps it in place if you want to stitch it on the machine. So I'll go away and do the stitching now, which will be up, across and down, and then I'll come back. Okay, well that's all the stitching done. Got a nice pocket here, quite a nice deep pocket, and a pocket here, and stitching goes all the way around there, and I stitched across here of course for the bottom of the pocket. So I've got to put a closure on here, so I'm going to mark it up, make a little hole there, that's about right, and then put an eyelet in there. And I'm going to use some of this wool that's so beautiful that my mum used for a jumper for me, and it's got like little pearls of wool, little ringlets. So I'll cut a piece of that off and thread it through the eyelet. So the next thing to do is to make the little notebook that goes in, which I'll have across there. You don't have to have it of course, but you can have it exactly how you like it. But I quite like having a little notebook. So what I use is my trusty wallpaper lining paper, which comes on a roll, which is very cheap. I'll cut a piece of that off, and when I've done that I'll come back and show you how I make the notebook. Okay, well I've cut the pieces of paper down to the right size that will fit in there and fold up nicely. Last time I stitched across here, but I've put a staple in this time, and I'm going to use a piece of the card that's left over and fold it over. I'll round the edges, and I think that'll and then what I'll do is I'll glue the back page down to the card to secure it. But before I can do that, I've got to put the name plate on. Right, the name plate. So I've measured where I want it to go. So I think about there. Just make a hole. And then we've got the brads to put through. Which are very fiddly. Right, and I'll just put some tape over those, just to stop them cutting through. That's where the notebook is going to go. And you can put what you like inside there. I might put a blue background with some writing on, but I'll have a look at that in a minute. So I'm just going to finish off the notebook, glue it to the back there, and then I'll come back. I'm just going to fold that over, glue it down. I've got this far, and I think I'm going to leave it for today. So I've put the notebook in, glued it down there, put a couple of stamps there. My father-in-law collected stamps, and they're some beautiful ones. This one's Canadian, and I just thought the colours went nicely. I'm probably going to put like a little word notes or something there. I've put these in the pocket and back to them. I may change that for a blue button. And I put a bead on the, that was very difficult. You'll be glad I did that off camera. And then that just ties up there. I put a bit of blue card in there. I'm just going to think about that for the moment, but it's not too bad. And then a pocket on the back. So this will flatten a bit. Oh, my stamp's coming off. When I've had it closed for a while, so I'm halfway through making another one. This is from cardstock. That's quite colourful. And you could put a pocket up that end if you wanted to, rather than a notebook. There's so many things you can do with them. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make that one, and please press the subscribe button and come back again and watch the next video. Not quite sure what I'm doing next, but there'll be something. There's a long list. Take care everyone. Bye for now.